When you look at Bitcoin, it has been more correlated to the NASDAQ recently than it has been to other things. So the fact that the Fed is seemingly pausing and risk assets are rebounding, that's also propping up the price of Bitcoin as well.
Bitcoin gets a shot of optimism after BlackRock files for a spot Bitcoin ETF in the U.S. Of course, the SEC has resisted allowing such funds in the past, but the question this time is whether it'll be different with a bid from the world's biggest asset manager.
What are the adjustments that investors should be thinking about making here?
You've got retail investors trying to come in, institutional are underinvested. So I think any pullback we have will not be deep, and I think it'll be shallow and it'll be short.
Hello, and welcome back to my channel. You see, Bitcoin price topped $31,000 on Friday after reports that BlackRock had filed an application with the SEC for a Bitcoin ETF. Are you interested in knowing what's going on in the crypto market? In today's video, Gareth Soloway has shared his insights on the Bitcoin and crypto market. If you want to stay up to date with the latest crypto insights, markets, and economy, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. All right, are you ready? Let's dive right in.
This chart is an awesome chart right now, and I simplified it. We're now in a downward channel, right? So parallel lines that we've been down at. Notice we're right up at that upper area. So this is this week, the next few days will be very, very key for Bitcoin. Can it break out? If it breaks out of here, I think it goes back to 30,500 and retests that resistance level. If it can't, then you're coming down to this downslope, this upsloping trend line. Do we break below that, and do we head down to its 23 to 24,000? So this is, again, to be honest, it's hard to know which way it's going to go here in the next few days. But if you can break above this blue line, which is around 27,250, I think that's where you get momentum to come in even more so and carry it towards that 30,000 mark. And I think if you just look at the overall chart, you can see that, look at this pivot low going back to 2018. And if you connect it through these, you get the lows in 2022 in terms of Bitcoin dominance. And then you could also argue, look at all these highs and how we're just breaking out here. So I think again, you can chart this, use this as a chart. I think that Bitcoin dominance has upside probably over the next 6 months towards this level here, which is around 57%, and this downsloping level, which will take it right in that same area. So I think Bitcoin dominance gets to about 57 to 60%.
Gareth Soloway explains that if we examine the chart, we can see that Bitcoin is currently within a downward channel, and we are rapidly approaching the upper boundary of this channel. This means that the next few days are absolutely critical in determining which way Bitcoin will go. Will it break out above that upper boundary and potentially soar back above the $30,000 level, testing that resistance once again? Or will it succumb to the downward pressure and slide towards the lower trend line, possibly dipping into the $23,000 to $24,000 range? Honestly, it's hard to tell which way it'll go in the short term. The price of Bitcoin jumped above $30,000 following a series of recent applications from traditional financial firms. Investors are growing bullish about the prospects of BlackRock and other major institutional names getting involved in digital assets. According to Gareth Soloway, Bitcoin dominance has room to grow in the next 6 months, aiming for around 57%.
I think a spot ETF is a huge game changer to allow retail to kind of fully get in. And when I'm not talking about retail crypto people, we're already in, right? It's about the other people that are maybe a little on the older side where it starts to give confidence, right? So we saw the futures ETF come out. That was even in the bull market, and we saw the collapse. So it doesn't mean you can't have bear markets when you have a spot ETF. But what it does is it's basically saying that the government, the SEC, is giving the green light. And the reason I say that, and you can say, well, it's not approved yet, so why are they giving the green light? But when you have a company that manages, what, $11 trillion and is that close to the government, you can't tell me that they didn't consult the SEC and say, hey, can we launch this ETF? And what this is doing, by the way, this is separating. You see Bitcoin dominance breaking out in this scenario as people start to say, okay, the SEC is fine with Bitcoin. Bitcoin will remain as is going forward. Therefore, it's safer to invest in Bitcoin. And so, again, I do think it's a positive for Bitcoin itself. I think the alts are still another story here because, again, we just don't know the rules for the altcoins.
A spot ETF like BlackRock's Bitcoin Spot ETF could be a big deal, especially for retail investors. It makes it easier for people who are not very into crypto or who are older and want more trust to join in. This could boost Bitcoin dominance as it shows that Bitcoin is more accepted and trusted thanks to the SEC's nod. The SEC has approved the Volatility Shares ETF, the first leveraged crypto ETF, allowing investors to obtain exposure to the cryptocurrency market for half the price of Bitcoin. Investors may see Bitcoin as a safer bet, but altcoins are still a question mark. Their rules and regulations are not clear, so it's hard to say how they will do in this changing scene.
So there's no doubt that I've been surprised by the move up that we've seen in the tech stocks. So especially large cap tech, that's been carrying this whole entire move. And interestingly enough, you could see this move on the NASDAQ and how vertical it's been. But if you look at the RSP, and this is kind of very telling, this is the equal weight S&P 500. Look at the equal weight S&P 500. So again, you can see that we're still sideways overall in the S&P when you take all the stocks, the 500 stocks at equal weights versus the way the indices are structured, where the market caps are the bigger the market cap, the bigger the weighting. So what that tells us is that there's been a handful of stocks that have been leading this charge higher, the NVIDIAs of the world, the Teslas of the world, the Microsofts, the Apples, etc., the trillion-dollar companies essentially. So I'm still somewhat skeptical. So if you look at the NASDAQ composite, right, from the lows, we're about 38% to the upside. All right, so that's the low on the NASDAQ. We actually fell 38%. We've rallied back 38%. Now, if we go to the weekly chart and I scroll back to the dot-com bubble, this is kind of interesting here. In the dot-com bubble, we collapsed 41%. We rallied 41% before the downside came back in. And we obviously went down about 80% after that. So while I think this is an amazing move to the upside, I just want to bring a little bit of logic. I'm all about data and logic. Past history has shown us, and by the way, I'm not saying this is another .com. I'm just saying past history of bull markets, when they collapse, we get these meteoric bounces that are almost equal. And again, to look at the .com and see a 41% drop and then a 41% bounce before we dropped 80 more percent, that's powerful. Now, lastly, I just got to show you this because you guys know I don't like just 2 data points. I want more data points. The more data points, the better. So if we go to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and we go back to the 1929 crash. Check this out.
I mean, that's a data point almost 100 years ago.
Right. So look at this. In 1929, the markets collapsed 50%. We rallied 52%. And then the Great Depression took over. So again, let's be clear. The markets have been making me wrong for the last month or two. There's no doubt about it. I've been surprised by how much money has flown into some of these mega cap stocks and how much the markets have rallied to the upside. But having said that, you have a Fed that's saying now they're going to tighten 2 more times the rest of the year. The market wasn't prepared for that. We're now going into a quiet period where the stock market, individual stocks that are doing buybacks, they can't buy now going into earnings. So I'm interested to see that. And then you also have data like the jobless claims, which was for the first time, we saw the biggest jump 2 weeks ago of jobless claims, which is people filing for unemployment, that we have seen since 2021. So if you do see a slowdown, I don't think the market's pricing in any negative news here. If we do see negative news, then the stock market likely will come back in. Having said that, could we go up a little bit more? There's always that chance.
I know the markets have surprised us lately, with huge flows into big stocks and strong rallies. But there are other things to worry about. The Fed wants to tighten more this year, and stocks will face a quiet period soon due to buyback limits and earnings reports. But that's not all. Jobless claims have been on the rise, hitting their highest levels since 2021. Could this be a sign of a slower economy? It's like the market has developed selective hearing, brushing off any negative news. So, if something goes wrong, it could trigger a correction in the stock market. But there's always a possibility of more upside before any downside. Can regulations and Fed's rate hikes be a hurdle for the future of crypto space? What's your price prediction for Bitcoin? Can it stay above $30,000? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more updates on crypto and economy. Also, be sure to give a big thumbs up to this video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Adios.